I had a guest, they had a get together at the unit. They left the unit trash. I had a same day check-in that day and the cleaner came late. But when I got there, the door was open, the unit was trash. It was like 7 bags of trash outside of the door. I used with the Airbnb now as far as getting the experience. Like Airbnb arbitrage is not really the end goal of what I want to do, but it's the clinicals of nursing. So me being a CNA put me in the environment. Some people become a nurse, they've never worked in a hospital. You can definitely tell somebody that's been a CNA before a nurse versus just going in there as a nurse. The day is like $2 to the day.
But that's huge.
That's my number. That's the number.
Damn, girl. I would love to have that much.
And when he made our number, he gave us wiggle rooms. The number is big. It accounts for our bills, our lifestyle, plus cushion.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate but lacked the funds to buy a house and get started? Well, in this episode, I'm going to be interviewing a nurse who single-handedly taught herself about Airbnb arbitrage. And if you don't know what Airbnb arbitrage is, it's a strategy where you rent out a property and then re-rent it to short-term guests at a higher price, aiming to profit from the price difference between the long-term lease and the short-term rental. Our guest Nakita is going to tell us all about how she got started and how much income she's been able to make from it. So with that said, Nakita, let us know who you are and why you decided to become a nurse.
All right, my name is Nakita. I am the Airbnb RN, and I've probably, like a lot of nurses, have been wanting to become a nurse since I was younger. And I guess originally, like, it comes to wanting to help people. Like, I genuinely like to help people. I don't know, it's just something deep down inside, and it's not even helping on a major scale. It could just be something small, just liking to help people. So on my educational journey, I just made it a point, hey, I'm going to become a nurse. I went to the high school that paved the way for me to become a nurse, got my CNA license and nurse license, and then basically that was it. And here I am.
Wow, wait, you said CNA license, so you started as a CNA?
Started from the bottom, now I'm here.
Oh. Do you think being a CNA helped you through nursing school?
100%.
Yeah.
And I use that kind of like with the Airbnb now as far as getting the experience. Like Airbnb arbitrage is not really the end goal of what I want to do, but it's the clinicals of nursing. So me being a CNA put me in the environment. So some people become a nurse, they've never worked in a hospital, they've never done any clinical type stuff. So it's just like a shell shock. They get in there and they're scared of everything. But me being the CNA, I've already been in there working around the nurses, being around patients, maybe not doing what the nurse is doing because that's out of my scope, but doing the CNA work. So 100%. You can definitely tell somebody that's been a CNA before a nurse versus just going in there as a nurse.
Yeah, I remember when I was in nursing school, I felt so lost. But when I was with my, the colleagues that I was going to school with, I remember the ones that were either working in healthcare, were CNAs, were LPNs, knew their stuff. Like they were able to pick it up so much easier than I was. And I felt like I was studying my butt off for these exams where they were like just cruising through.
Now I will say the exams versus the clinical, now that's different. Even though I was a CNA, like those, I felt so stupid on the exam. I'm like, hold on, like what type of test is this? I always say if I had to redo it, I don't know if I could redo those exams because they was completely different.
Yeah. And I understand because like the exam portion is way different than what you've already experienced as a CNA at the bedside. Because, you probably felt really comfortable actually taking care of the patients, whereas like people who never worked in healthcare are very timid. They're afraid to even walk into a patient's room and speak to a patient. And that's how I was when I first started. Even as a new grad, like I was scared to go into a patient's room. But every time someone asks me if they should be a CNA before they get into nursing, I'm always like, yes, 100%. Get into healthcare immediately. Even if you're not doing nursing right away. If you're working in the field, then it's going to prepare you to become a nurse, right?
100%.
So where did you grow up?
Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, okay. And
that's where I am now.
That's where you are now. Oh, aren't you lucky? No state income taxes.
Well, literally, I just finished up a contract. I've been doing like local contracts. So I was in Brunswick, Georgia, and that was something that just slipped my mind till I got my first paycheck, and I'm like, oh, they have their local
Yeah.
tax here. I'm like, oh my goodness. Because
Yes.
I didn't calculate that into doesn't make sense for
Yeah.
me to take the drive, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera.
So, how long ago did you graduate nursing school?
Oh, 6 years ago.
Okay. So, do you remember so when you first started, which unit did you work in? Or
Med surge.
oh, okay. So it's like most people tell you work in med surge, and is that why you decided to get into med surge? Because the teacher said you should work in med surge, or is it really something you just wanted to do?
No, actually, I only wanted to work at one hospital here, which is UF Health Shands, which is our Trauma One facility. And I was already working there in the registration. So even though I had my CNA license, I worked a little bit with my CNA license, but then I transferred to be a financial rep because it was more money. And then I also could study while I was in nursing school at work. So when I got my RN license, I was already there thinking it was going to be easy to just make the transition into nursing. And it was so hard. Like literally, I waited like 5 to 6 months before I got a nursing job at that facility, turning other jobs down.
Wow.
And I mean, I know that's crazy. Other people probably wouldn't have, but I just really I felt like I would get the best experience at that teaching hospital and seeing all type of things there. So, long story short, I putting in applications. I had to go to HR like, what's up? Like, I have my RN license. I'm already working here. It's better if you just hire who you have and let your staff grow in facility. And so she's asking me, well, hey, what did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? I'm like, yeah, I did everything. Like, and I was passionate. I'm up there crying. Like, she was like, okay, it's okay. Go get yourself together. And when I came back, and this was just the representative in the front of HR. So when I came back, she put me in a meeting with the nursing recruiter and the nursing coordinator. They went over the same thing. They don't know why it's been getting declined. On the way home, I had an interview for Med Surg Tele, and that was all she wrote. That was
Wow.
all she wrote. I was like I was about to have a mental breakdown
Yeah.
about getting a job
You
there.
know, you should have
But
done that months ago.
right, right. And then the only thing the application is saying is decline, decline, decline. I'm like, what is going on?
Wow.
And then some of the people that I work with was like, well, hey, just go talk to the manager. And I don't know. I guess it's all with who you know,
Yeah.
but I like to just be able to get things on my own sometimes. I don't want it to be any favoritism or because I work there. I did the work. I'm an RN. You see that I'm an employee there. So what's going on? So I didn't want to like go above anybody's head. So I just went HR like, what's good?
But see, that's the thing people don't realize is that sometimes if you're a new grad and you're having a hard time finding a job, you got to try to get a job by any means necessary. And if it means you need to go to the HR department of the hospital you're trying to apply to, that's what you're going to have to do. And I told a story
Uh-huh.
about how, like, I remember trying to get a job at the hospital system that I'm working at now. And I walked into the emergency department because I'm an ER nurse. I walked into the emergency department with my resume asking if I could speak with a manager or a director or supervisor. And when I walked in there, it was the charge nurse that saw me, and she went to look for a supervisor. And when she came back with the supervisor told me that I should have never even walked into the ED with my resume because it's not acceptable. And she said I should go on the website and apply through the website. But I was unlucky that day because I got the worst supervisor in the department. you know, and thankfully I had connections in the department anyway. So one of my coworkers who had worked with me previously in another hospital, he just put in a good word for me and I ended up getting the job. So it is about who you know too. So yeah, there's a lot of nurses that are just having a hard time right now, and I just got to tell them you just got to keep trying in different ways. Don't keep trying the same way. Don't just go onto the application, the website for careers, and apply for jobs through there. Just do it in many different ways. I spoke to a nurse last week who told me that she actually got her job through LinkedIn, and she used to be a recruiter herself. She was managing like 14 different projects as a director. And then she was she was hiring employees, and she said she would get so many employees that she would hire through LinkedIn because they would message her and they would tell her that they were interested in working in a position in the hospital that she was in. So she had connections because of how high up she was in the chain of command. But yeah, like what you did.
I don't have a LinkedIn account, and I've been saying I need
What?
to get. I don't have
Yeah.
one. Like that's the only thing that I don't
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. Even like I don't post on there at all. I used to, but I'm always getting emails or messages from people who work in the industry or outside of the industry who want to collaborate with me. So it's a
Mhm.
place to collaborate professionally, where it's Instagram is cool, but it's not meant for like um like career type of connections. Yeah, you can
It's a
it's
different
not like
lane.
social media, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
you can DM somebody if you're trying to like sell a course or if you want to make a collaboration with somebody else. But if you're trying to get a job, for those of you that are looking for work, then LinkedIn is definitely it. Yeah. So,
That and also hiring events too, because I went to a
yes.
hiring event before I picked up this last contract
Mhm.
that I just ended. It was for an ICU position because I was thinking about
Yeah.
seeing if I wanted to go that way. And it was very casual. It was like at Buffalo Wild Wings, just chit chatting and eating. I was like, okay. I was stressed a little bit when I went into it, but then afterwards, everybody's just talking. It was casual and it was
Yeah.
like an easy job. Like I did get the job, I turned it down, but I was like, oh, this is how a hiring event is.
Yeah. I don't know if you've spoken with Lois recently or about this situation before, but I remember she told me a story how they flew her out to, I believe it was Louisiana. I forgot the state, but they flew her out. And she was like, I think she had like 1 year of experience and she was applying for a job. And when they flew her out, she was so excited about the position. And then they paid for her stay because she had to stay at a hotel, and then they offered her like a $10,000 sign-on bonus. And she was like, this has got to be the best job in the world. I'm so excited. I can't wait. They offered her the position. She took it. And then when she started
Mm-hmm.
working, she's like, now I see why they offered all these things. It was one of the worst places she ever worked in. And she said she only lasted there like 1 year. She had a 2 year contract. And after a year, she took a traveling position and she had to pay off like the remaining bonus balance that she had. But she
Yeah,
said she got good experience because she realized how much work she could do on her
of
own without
course.
asking for help.
Of course.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the same with the position that I turned down at this hiring event. It was an ICU position. I could have went in any of the ICU departments because they all needed people. But the director was just like, I'm just gonna be straight up with you. When you get off of your orientation, you're probably gonna be tripled up. Like that's the norm here. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm kind of at the point in my life like, yeah, I love nursing. I know what to do, and I'm sure I can pick that up easily and continue to learn. But I don't want to be super duper stressed out. Like, I don't want to be super duper stressed. And it was an HCA facility, which I always hear bad things
Mm.
about. So I'm just like, and then it was a $20,000 sign on bonus. So
Wow.
I was like, even if I get my experience, it would have been a situation like you just say, Lois said, like if I wanted to leave and travel ICU, now I'm gonna have to pay them their money back.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just take another local contract.
Yeah. So when did you actually start traveling?
I've been traveling at the beginning of COVID. What was that?
Oh, like
20,
2020?
like right before it like got bad. Like
Oh,
right
really?
before I took one assignment in Tallahassee that wasn't a COVID assignment, but they was getting like little COVID patients here and there.
Yeah.
My next assignment, straight COVID.
Wow. So that was 3 years into your nursing career.
Hmm.
Okay. And were you getting paid a lower rate because you started right before COVID?
So yeah, that first assignment was a lower rate. It was like the standard. I think what was I getting? Maybe like 1,500 every week
Wow.
versus like my normal staff rate, which was like that every 2 weeks. So heck, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
But after that, they went up. They
Uh,
went up, up, up.
and was that in Jacksonville, Florida, or was that somewhere else?
Tallahassee.
Oh, sorry. Okay. And after that contract, where did you go?
Where did I go after that? I believe I went to Miami after that.
Oh,
I
okay.
went to this hospital called Palmetto General.
Okay. And
I got good, but it was so stressful. It was so
really?
stressful. Like I couldn't even think about the money. That's how stressful it was. And
Wow.
I had a wonderful recruiter. I just felt like she just maybe she didn't know. I'm black and Puerto Rican, but I don't know Spanish. That was a full Spanish facility.
What?
Like everybody. The first day, first of all, the orientation like with another nurse was only like 3 hours. So I was shadowing her for 3 hours, which I'm usually cool with, but it was a Hispanic facility. I can't understand. So her patient had a rapid. They came in there speaking Spanish. And I was like,
What?
Hello. But I end up getting through it. I was working day shift then. I'm more so on night shift now. So you already know. I don't know if you familiar with working both the
Oh
shifts,
yeah.
but back then I was 100% against night shift. I was like, oh no, I will never work night shift. Oh no, I can't stay awake. But I was stressing myself out 10,000% more working day shift on travel contracts with trying to wear all the different hats back then, plus learn another language. But I think that was my next one after Tallahassee. Good money, but just stressful.
Wait, so did they not know that you didn't speak Spanish?
I don't know.
What?
And you know what's crazy? I didn't even mention it to her. I'm so like go with the flow. I was just like, come on, Nakita, you can do anything for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You could do anything for 4 weeks. So I had my phone in a little Ziploc bag with Google Translate on there. And then shockingly, a lot of their staff nurses was out with COVID, but one guy, like he was almost always there when I worked. So he would talk to the families for me because as we know, Hispanics, they're very family oriented.
Yeah.
So a lot of cultures are, but it's specifically Hispanics. So I would have aunties calling, cousins calling. I'm like, I don't speak Spanish. So he would get them on a group call and talk to them for me. And I was like, I appreciate you so much.
Wait,
So much.
did any of the staff members speak English? Because it sounds like
It was mostly travelers, but the staff that I saw there, they also were bilingual.
I see. Oh,
Hmm. So
that's rough.
and it was in High, was it Hialeah? So when I went there recently, just traveling, somebody told me that that was just a Cuban community. So like even when you're driving, like some of the billboards and street signs are in Spanish, and I'm like, I was just clueless to the fact. I'm like, I'm going to Miami, and I didn't even have. I worked, went back to the room, slept, got back up
Oh
and worked because
my
I was just
god.
exhausted.
Wow. And that contract was 48 hours or 36 hours a week?
48.
Okay. Do you remember how much they paid you?
It was like 6,000.
That's nice. That's
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking about it then.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah. Yeah, you're like, shit, I just want this contract to be over.
I swear. 2 weeks in, the manager was like, basically, would we like to extend? I was like, hell no. I no. 2 weeks in, I mean,
Yeah,
I only had 2 weeks to go, but I was still getting used to everything.
yeah.
I was like, I can't. Mm-mm. I don't even know if I'm gonna make it
Man.
my next 2 weeks.
But
But it
you
was
know what?
definitely a learning experience.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it back because I learned a lot. I met a lot of people, so it was still amazing. But it was just, if I say a contract is hard, it's hard because, like I said, I'm pretty much go with the flow.
Okay, so where'd you go after that?
North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Way out there, huh? So how was North Dakota?
North Dakota was freezing, but it was an easy contract. It was super easy, super laid back. I was only there for 4 weeks too. It was me and three others. No, me and two other my friends. We traveled there together. But it was easy. Like I really no complaints about it, except just being far away from home.
I,
That's probably the only downside about traveling. Like you're away. I'm a family oriented person, so being away from my family sucks. But it was easy. We got to explore North Dakota. Shockingly, I went over there, and this is probably irrelevant, but I went over there thinking that it wasn't going to be many of me over there, if you
yeah.
understand. But actually, I met a lot of Africans over there, and they say that that's a place that they, I don't know what the word is for it. They try to populate that place,
Oh,
so it's a lot of us over there. Um, but I don't know. It's just 100% different from Florida.
yeah.
Just it's like very flat over there,
And
and
cold.
cold,
And
flat and
cold.
cold. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. But everybody was so nice, so welcoming. The work was easy. Like I probably could have extended that contract forever.
Mm,
That's how easy it is. And I never realized a lot of people say like down south is probably the worst to work as
yeah.
nurses. Any contract that I've taken other places is easy.
Mm,
Tallahassee
yeah.
was kind of hell. Miami was hell. My other contracts that were out of Florida
Yeah.
was fine.
Really? So
Mhm.
so how many contracts have you done so far? It sounds like you've done a lot.
Not too many. I went to Miami. I did Tallahassee. I did Arizona, North Dakota, Memphis, and then I've done local
I
contracts
see.
at other facilities, but in Jacksonville and then Brunswick.
Okay. So did you have student loans at the time?
No,
Awesome. What were you doing with all this money you were making?
saving it. And then when I took my last Memphis contract, I invested it into Airbnb,
Wow. Okay.
but just saving it.
Yeah.
I didn't really buy too much stuff. I feel like when I was in Miami, that was my first purchase. I bought a LV bag. But other than that, nothing. Spending it on my family, I'll say that.
Do you have kids?
Because Christmas, no, two fur babies.
Awesome. Damn. That sounds like the
Hmm.
life.
My mom's waiting. She's waiting and
Oh,
very
yeah.
impatiently waiting. But I'm like, I'm like, girl, I can barely take care of myself. No. I know that sounds
Yeah.
so crazy, but I'm like, that's what I tell her all the time. I'm like, I can barely take care of myself. I can't take care of no kids.
That's so funny. So why did you decide to get into Airbnb investing?
So that's a long story, but the short version is I had this was probably like my 22nd or 23rd birthday or something like that. I rented an Airbnb.
Mhm.
I don't know what made me run across it because it really wasn't popular back then. And just for context, I'm 31 now. So, and I just had a little get together there. And then, like, that was the mustard seed that planted it all. Like, dang, this is something that I could do. Like, I could do this.
Mhm.
So, that was like the start of it. So, I had always been thinking about it. And then, fast forward a couple of years, I got one in Atlanta and it was actually in an apartment, it wasn't a house. So, now I'm thinking more like, how the heck do they do it? And it's not in the house. They don't own this apartment complex. So then I end up reaching out to the lady that I rented it from. And she basically told me like this was a corporate lease. I didn't like go really, really deep with her, but she told me like the basis of it. And then after she told me that, I just started researching and researching and researching. Then from there, it was like, well, dang, I don't have like the upfront, like I wasn't ready to invest my own money into it. Like I think at that point I was still a staff nurse. So and I had just got my home. So I'm like, it's just me, it's my two dogs. I can't invest all this money on my staff income on an Airbnb and not really know. So then I had started traveling and then it was still on my mind heavy. And I said, you know what? Yes, I'm making a lot of money traveling, but at some point the money is going to dwindle down and I'm still not really following my dream of what I want to do, which is get into real estate, start an Airbnb. So that last contract, I was like, I'm going to do it when I get back home. And that's what I did.
Wow. And how much was your initial investment and how did you go about it?
So it was five, like a little over 5,000. I had got a one bed, one bath unit. And I basically furnished it myself, going through like Facebook Marketplace, Amazon, like Walmart, not any quality furniture, but at a
Yeah.
budget because it's coming out of my money. And then still you want to make the income on the back end. But I just reached out to the community. I formulated my business, reached out to the community, told them what my business plan was, and asked them, is this something that they accept? And when I say reach out, at this time, I was going like to them, like meeting them as I was a tenant. And then when I got there, I'm like, hey, I'm not a tenant. I'm coming to you as a business. This is my business model. Do you guys accept this business model? They said, yeah. And I was like, let's go.
Hmm. Can you explain
And that
more
was my first one.
in detail more about your business model? Like
Mhm.
what were you telling them your business model was?
So after I formulated my business, which is Dupree Holdings of Florida, I let them know I'm a short-term rental business that houses transient guests. So whatever guests anybody want to say, but I don't limit it. So I say either that could be travel nurses, that could be displaced families, that can be workers or vacation and families. I provide the housing for them and they'll be here. There's no set time limit. It could be one day or it could be a couple months. I handle all of the background stuff. Like if some communities require like um, background screenings or they might require a minimum amount of days. So I just get that information and see what they require and see if that's something that I'm willing to do. That particular community only required a background check. So that's what I handle. So the vetting process of the clients. And then they fall under my business. So the guest of my business at the unit when they come and stay with me. So that was pretty much it. Now, some communities, they don't really know about it. So you might go and ask them and they might not know if they allow it or if they don't. But if you have experience in it, you can let them know, like, okay, well, this is how it usually is done, because I do it all the time. If they don't know, I'm like, okay. Or they tell me something that seems a little weird, I'm like, well, I'm in a couple communities, this is what I usually do, is this okay for us to do? And then they say yes or no.
And when you say communities, are you talking about like the apartment complexes?
Exactly.
Okay, so you literally would like knock from door to door and let them know this is what you're trying to do, or would you go to the management office and be like, this is what I'd like to do?
Exactly. Go to the management office. So usually I will call and I'll set an appointment up as a tenant.
Mm,
And then when I get there, because it's always better face to face, when I get there, I'll let them know, hey, I'm not a tenant, I'm a business.
mm,
And this is what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to get a unit under my business name and house transient guests.
mm,
Do you allow that?
mm.
And we go from there. And it's either yes or no. If it's a yes, then okay, what are your requirements? Because even though they say yes, you might not want to be there given the requirements. So then I go down the list of the requirements. And if it's something that I'm okay with doing, then we'll go forward.
How did you learn how to do this?
Research, YouTube University, just
Wow.
trial and error. I did buy a course. This probably was a couple months into it, but I pretty much knew what was on the course. I did get a couple gems on it, but I pretty much already knew because I had been researching for, I feel like, years and years and years about it. But if I would have just bought that course at the beginning, it would have collapsed time for me. But I had already went through
Yeah.
everything. So
So technically, what you do is you don't buy the property, right? What you do
no.
is you rent it out to a tenant, and you're
Hmm.
basically just collecting the rent and then paying the property manager that rent. And
Correct.
you,
So in simpler terms, it's basically subleasing, but they're aware that your business is there running the business. So you get it in your business name, and then they're aware that other guests are going to be checking in. The only downside, and it's really not too big of a downside, but for me, it's a downside because this is just a short term goal and I have a long term goal of ownership. But this was an easy way to get in low risk, low cost into real estate quickly. But just that initial rent is not yours. So you have to make your rent plus the profit. Whereas if you're owning, you're making the mortgage. Of course, you still got to pay your mortgage, but at the end of the day, you're still going to own this house at some point in time and getting equity and all of that. I'm not building that right now. I'm just getting the profit on top.
okay. And so your first property, did you just work on one property for like how long did you work on that first property for before you decided to get a second one?
That's a good question. It wasn't that long. It was about 4 or 5 months.
Wow. Okay. And how much were you
Mhm.
earning in profit from that first property?
So it varied, but from 1,000 to about 1,200
That,
per month.
that's pretty good because there's a lot of home own like real estate investors that will what they'll do is they'll kind of it's the bird method. So they'll buy a property that needs a lot of not a lot of work but some work. They'll renovate it and then they'll rent it out, and typically they'll see a profit of anywhere from like let's say 200 to 800, maybe $1,000 a month. So that kind of profit that you're making is really good. Even though you're not building equity on your own home, your own
Right.
property, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's actually the method I'm looking into now when I'm thinking of like sliding over into the
Yeah.
ownership part. But I understand right now that the profit could be less, but that long
Yeah.
term buy and hold is what I'm looking for, like at the end of the day.
So let me ask you a question because I know my viewers are probably wondering this is why is it that the property manager can't just find their own tenants and they rather you manage the tenants that come in?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. It might be more work on their end because now they have to furnish it and everything. Now, I feel like there are some apartments out there. I haven't ran into them in Jacksonville, Florida that provides like furnished units, but of course they're going to be more money. But now the management, they have to think about getting this furniture, like having it clean. Like they'll have probably have to hire a whole nother group of workers just to handle those short-term rental units, when they probably just want to manage it, have their long-term guests, and that's it, because that's pretty automatic.
I find it really interesting that the property managers are hiring a property manager so that you can do the work for them. And
Basically,
then the landlord is
basically.
paying the property manager to hire another property manager. That is really interesting.
That's kind of sort of what it is, yeah.
Yeah. So, how many properties do you own now, or are you managing right now?
I have 6 right now.
Wow. And are they all averaging about $1,000 per month?
Yeah, so it depends. Sometimes it's a little bit lower than that because of seasonality. So like right now we're in a low seasonality. So what I try to do on low seasonality is get longer tenants. So I wouldn't say like necessarily travel nurses, but somebody that's going to stay in there just the same with the time. And then it will still gross like 800 to 1,000 depending on what that monthly rent is set at, and I don't have to worry about if it's going to be booked or not.
So, what kind of industries do these tenants typically work in that are staying for 3 months or so?
So what I've usually had is a lot of construction workers, shockingly. And then during the summertime, I had what you call it, people that was displaced from their
Oh,
homes. So from insurance
oh,
companies, and actually an insurance company just reached out to me 2 days ago about another displaced guest. So
mm,
those people, they can be in there a couple months because either something happened to their home or they're waiting on their home to be finished, being built, rebuilt, or whatever have it. And then just
interesting.
vacationing people, but they only stay like 2 to 3 days or something like that.
How do these insurance companies find you?
So the first one found me on Furnish Finders,
Oh,
and then the one 2 days ago, Airbnb.
wow. I remember
And she,
I saw an episode on Furnished Finders. They have a podcast, and they interviewed this woman who does something similar to what you're doing, and
Mhm.
she's making like $180,000 a month.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, but what exactly is she doing? Does she have a lot of units,
Yeah,
or
so
does she have a lot of
she'll
property?
reach out to like hotels and
Mm.
large apartment complex buildings, and she'll do the same thing that you're doing. But apparently, from what I heard, is that her parents used to own. I don't know if it was like a small inn or breakfast inn or hotel, like a small hotel. So she kind of knew the industry already. So when she got
Mhm.
into doing her own thing with Airbnb arbitrage and that type of stuff, she just like hit the ground running from the moment she got into it. And she said like she has several in the first year she already had several dozen apartments under her name.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's awesome. Like, and I say this a lot of time, and that's another reason why I try to educate other people on getting it more into the educational space, because my family doesn't know anything about this. Like, I can't go to them and ask them questions about this. Like, I literally have to get in a room with other people that know, brush shoulders, ask questions, go to these REI meetups and like ask them questions, because I don't know. But just the simple fact that she had some experience already, like we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
that like that CNA
Yeah.
experience, that experience just like propelled her, like collapsed time tremendously for her.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing.
So what kind of like legal documents would you need to form a business like this?
So you need your LLC. Of course, you have to formulate the business. Your LLC, your EIN number, your Duns and Bradstreet number, and depending on what market you're in, you might need specific documentations to have a short-term rental business. So some places need permits, or I think that's pretty much the main thing, permits, depending on the area that you're in.
Okay, explain to me what a Don's and what is it, Brad Street number is?
Duns and Bradstreet.
Okay, because
So
I heard this in that episode and she explained it, but I need you to explain it so my guests can, my viewers can understand.
So basically, your Duns and Bradstreet number is the number that you're going to get to help you start formulating your business credit. So what I was told recently is you don't even have to go on their website anymore; that it'll automatically start formulating. Like, you'll get your number once you start like trying to build your business credit, but you can still go on their website. It says get Duns and Bradstreet number. You get the number, and that's how you're like connecting your credit to the business credit bureaus.
Let's see. Okay, so let's say me, for example, I have an LLC and I have
Mm-hmm.
two business credit cards, one under a
Mm-hmm.
DBA and one under the LLC. Am I building credit with my Dons and Bradstreet? Um,
Are you are you using the credit card?
yeah, yeah, I use it all the time.
And you said you already got the Duns and Bradstreet number?
No, so I would have to get one in order to
Yeah.
build credit under
So
it.
I would check into it because what I was recently told is you don't have to go and get the number, like they'll automatically populate it for you
Oh,
once you start building that credit, which
I
is
see.
what you're doing with that credit
I
card.
see.
When I did it, I went and got the number. So I
Mhm,
was just like, let me get the LLC, let me get the EIN
mhm.
number, and then I went to the Duns and Bradstreet site and got that as well.
Okay. What kind of
If
require?
that's 100, hmm,
No, I was going to say, what do they require you to submit in order to get that number?
just your business
Oh,
information. That's it.
wow.
Hmm.
That's awesome. That's
Hmm.
so simple.
I feel it's pretty. Yeah, this is like when with your LLC. I feel like a lot of people think it's so
Yeah,
difficult, and it really you just go in there, you just answer the
yeah,
questions. Same with the EIN
yeah,
number, which is like the business social. You
yeah,
just go on there, you answer the
yeah.
questions, and you got it.
Yeah, it's that's why I think not many people want to start their own business. Is they feel like everything is really more complicated than it actually is. Because I know for us, we wanted to start a different business under our LLC, and all we had to do was get a DBA for it. So we literally just had to walk to the county clerk's office, fill out one sheet of paper, and put in what the new DBA is. And DBA is like doing business as, for those
Do
of
a
you
business.
that
Hmm.
don't know. So we filled out the DBA and our LLC at the top, and then we just signed it. And then you just pay. We had to pay like $44, and that's it. Now you have an official business. However, you do have to get published through a newspaper. Not all states do that, but in California, then we
Hmm.
had to go to like a newspaper, tell them we were a newly established business, and they needed to publish it in the newspaper. But they tell you all of that. Like they give you the steps and they tell you exactly what address you need to go to get it published in the newspaper. So it's like really simple, but people are
Hmm.
afraid to
I
even.
feel like the whole thing is when we don't know, we really
Yeah,
just don't know, and that's what gets us. Like you say, I'm really a step by step
yeah,
person. Like I need somebody like what's next, what's next, and sometimes that can be hard in business because there's no manual to business. Like we're literally going into the unknown trying
yeah,
to figure things
yeah.
out. So
And this is why, like, I do this in every episode, but like, I talk so highly about mentorship programs because I feel like it's so much better to invest in someone who has done what you want to do already because it saves you all of the steps that are required to get to where you want to be. And,
exactly.
like, I know you joined Lois's mastermind group recently,
Hmm.
and for those of you who are watching this now, Lois's video is not out, but by the time you watch this video, it probably will be. So Lois is a nurse who she actually used to do, like, she was a staff nurse, then she went into travel nursing, and then she got into strike travel nursing, and that's where she really made her money. But she was one of the
Hmm.
nurses that I mentioned in the previous episode that she was actually attacked by a patient, and Matt, like the administrators and the staff members in her department didn't do anything about it, and she was actually hospitalized, and that's why she
Hmm.
did decide to leave the bedside, and she ended up just for some time she took some time off, and then she went back. She needed the money, went into strike nursing, and she made like $30,000, I think, in like 10 days, something like that.
Hmm.
But now she teaches
That's
other nurses how to do that. Yeah,
right.
yeah. So
Hmm.
so why did you join Lois's mastermind group?
So with me, I've been on this mindset journey for I feel like a year and a half now. But in January, I think I joined before January, but I've been wanting to get into the room. Like I already know, like in order to propel myself into where I'm trying to go, I have to get into the room with individuals and I have to work on my mindset. But like you say, mentorship is very important, but there's so many mentors out there. You don't know who to pick. Like, yeah, what they're saying sounds good, but are we relatable? Like, are we compatible? So I had been following Lois for a while, and I actually joined her community first. And I had asked her, like, "Are you going to do a mentorship? Like, what's going on?" And she was like, basically, she wasn't ready yet. But even then, with me asking her, I felt like we were relatable. Like, she's a staff nurse, I'm a staff nurse. She traveled, I traveled. She's getting into the rooms. Like, the people that she's bumping shoulders with right now, I had been watching them already on IG social media, like the CEO circle with Neo, Ash Cash, all of these people. So seeing that she's paving her own way and she's in those rooms now, I was like, this is who my mentor needs to be. Like, she has the information, the knowledge that I need. So that's why I was like, when she did drop it, I was like, okay, we're doing it.
So, what is your
We're doing it.
goal? What is your goal with this joining this mastermind group, this mentorship program?
Just to be around like-minded individuals, like I said, and to get in a room. I feel like on that first piece, like-minded individuals, we're not always around people that we can relate with. Like I said, with when you was talking about the lady that interviewed for the furnished finders, and she had the previous experience and someone to talk to. When I'm trying to elevate and well, I don't want to talk down on my family or friends or anything else, but no one else has the knowledge that I'm looking for right now, basically. So I have to go out and get it.
Yeah.
So in this community, everybody's doing that. They're going out and trying to find that knowledge. They're all trying to elevate in some sort of a way. They have knowledge that I don't have, and I might have knowledge that they don't have, and we can all collab. Then they're going to, like Lois, she's going to these higher level events. Okay, now we can get in those rooms too. Like, she's paving a way for us to get there. So that was like my no-brainer for joining the community, to get around those type of individuals.
Did you go to St. Lucia with her?
I did.
Awesome. I saw that video. That looked like a fun trip.
It was amazing, and not just amazing in the fact that we had fun, but we had masterminds there.
Yeah.
So like, her mentor is also my mentor, and he did a mastermind there, which was amazing. Like, 2 masterminds he did, and then we had another Zoom mastermind with 2 other gentlemen, and it was amazing. So it was fun, education, turn up, all in one.
All right. Let me ask you a couple of questions, because my viewers are going to want to know this. One, what are their names? Because they might want to look them up themselves, like these mentors you mentioned. And 2,
All right.
what did you learn? Tell me in detail, like the kind of stuff that you learned there.
Okay, so the mentors is Dion, Damon, and I can send you so you can tag their whole name: Dion, Damon, and JD.
Okay.
Damon is a mindset and offer mastery coach. Dion is a credit coach, and JD also does Airbnb, so he's a Airbnb coach as well.
Wow.
And then of course we have my mentor Lois as well. And it's so much to regurgitate, but with Damon, we learn mindset, like, and we learned one thing that I took away out, and I'll talk about this, is the freedom number. So what number, basically from the yearly amount, monthly amount, weekly amount to the day, would you need to make that you will be your freedom number, like you don't have to work again. And that was really big for me. So
that's like your fire number. Is that what team?
Basically, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So he took us down that, and then basically also just gave us the opportunity to give ourselves grace, because I feel like at that trip it was majority nurses, and we're already very established, very successful, but a lot of times we don't give ourselves grace to know that we're doing good now. We're successful already. So we're just focused on getting to that next level. When we're successful now, we got here. Like, we used to cry to be where we are now. I don't know, y'all might not have cried if y'all are nurses and y'all watching. Y'all might not have cried, but I know I cried in nursing school to become a nurse, and I finally made it. So we had a whole mindset of just about giving yourself grace and like just keep going. Everybody's journey is different, and you'll make it if you don't give up and you keep going and putting yourself out there, putting yourself in the room, and etc.
Yeah, I know. I've tried and started so many different businesses, and I'm still going. Like, they weren't all successful. I mean, the longest running business that I have is this Nurses to Riches brand, which I started like 2.5 years ago, and I'm not gonna quit on this one, because I've met so many interesting people along the way, like Lois, and I don't know if you know Nurse Chrissy from like Nurse Christie
Mm-hmm.
TV. And just like I've gotten to drive in a Lamborghini with this nurse who made $600,000 in 1 year. I've gotten to go to a nurse's business who owned a med spa business, and in like 10 months of her owning the business, she made $360,000. So like, the
Wow.
people that I've met is it's so cool to like. That's why I continue with this podcast. I have other types of videos on my YouTube channel, but like these podcasts are the ones that I enjoy doing the most because I meet a lot of interesting people doing it. And then so I also want to know what your fire number is though, because I have a fire number and I want to know what your fire number is.
Ooh, dang.
Do you
I
not
know
remember
the
this?
day number. The day is like $2,750 to the
Oh,
day,
wow.
but
That's, yeah.
but but the end number was like
Hold on. Twenty seven
years.
hundred and fifty. I got you. Hold on. Times that would
And
be
I have
times
it in
three hundred and sixty
my
five. Damn. Times 365?
what number did
You
you get?
said 2750, right? Right. 365. So 2750 is your day number. So every
My
day you
day
need to
number.
make 2750.
Hmm.
That's your number. That's huge.
That's my number. That's the number.
Damn, girl. That is wow. I would love to have that much.
So
Yeah.
and when he made our number, he gave us wiggle room. So
Oh,
the number is big, but it accounts for our bills, our lifestyle, plus cushion.
uh, I see. I see.
I think it was like I think the number ended up being like 1 million or 2 million or something.
Oh,
I have it written
yeah.
down.
I have
I
here
should
it's
have
one
it in front of
million 3,750.
me. Okay.
So that's how much you want to make per year.
If I could just make that and not have to do nursing, I can make it off of what I'm doing now. That'll be amazing.
Wow. Because I believe that means you would have to make let's see, 20. You would have to have 20,075,000 in your overall net worth. I believe that's the number in order to be able to make $1 million per year passively. So
Mm,
this is just a number that I obsess with because my fire number initially before when I started this YouTube channel was like 3,775,000 or something like that, or 175,000. And the reason why I chose that number is because I wanted $150,000 per year, thinking that was going to be enough. And then I realized that if I want to be able to travel, let's say I want to go first class to another country and I want to stay in like the Maldives or Bora Bora, I don't want to have to think about how much it's going to cost me because
right.
150,000 is not going to go a long way.
No.
If you want to live a lavish lifestyle, which is like I'm going to be honest with myself. That's what I want to live. Like we're not. My wife doesn't buy like expensive purses. She doesn't do all of that. But we love traveling and we love being able to just explore the world. And in order to do that, you need money. I mean, you could do it cheaply, but we don't want to do it cheaply.
Oh, we want to just be able to say what we want and then get it. They
Yeah.
be like, "Well, you cost this much." Yeah.
Yeah. And then you don't, especially when you think about the factoring in of inflation into your cost of living and how inflation just continues to rise, but our incomes continue to stagnate or decrease as a result of inflation. You have to take that into account because when we were considering moving back to New York, I don't know if you know, but we're originally from New York City. We weren't born there. I was born in the Dominican Republic, and my wife, she's from the Philippines. But we moved to the U.S. at a very early age, and we grew up in New York City. Then like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we moved to California because we wanted to make more money. And living here, we paid off all our debt. We only owe our house now. Like that's the only thing we owe. We paid we had a car that we paid like $70,000 for, paid that off. We borrowed $70,000 to put a down payment on our house, which is ridiculous. I can't believe they allow that. But we did that. We paid that off. And then we paid off all our student loans. So we don't owe anything. But now that we've paid everything off, we're starting to realize, and we've realized this for a while, but it's hitting more now that we missed home. We missed New York. So we've been wanting to go back there, but we think about the cost of living. It's so expensive to live
Mhm.
there. Like we live in a low cost of living area in California, which is Sacramento, but it's boring compared to New York City. So
Mm.
So we want to be in a point in our lives where we're making so much money that moving back to New York City, we're not even thinking about how much it's going to
You
cost
don't
to live there.
think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, joining these
100%.
mastermind groups is so valuable because it can get you there much faster than you ever even imagined.
It's cheat code.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the cheat code.
Absolutely. So what is your plan with the Airbnb stuff then?
So currently, I just started mentorship. So like, I'm actually in the second week of the mentorship that I started, and that was just I actually just stumbled upon it,
Wow.
talking to Lois's mentor, which is also my mentor,
Yeah.
and completing the offer that he told us to do. I did it, and the mentorship just kind of happened. Like people was our like she says, people are waiting for you to put out what you're good at, and they might be waiting on you. So like even with your podcast, people are waiting on you to get on your
Mm.
podcast because they want to talk to you. People are waiting on me to teach them about Airbnb because they've been watching me. But for the longest, I'm just like, no, no, no. And like, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not good enough. Like, no, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
And I feel like we never know enough, even to start or to teach, but we can still learn and we can still find it out. So yeah, I'm doing the mentorship now. I have a course. Shout out to Nurse Lois again. She pushed me to do that. So I have the Airbnb course. And now I'm just trying to get into more rooms and to continue to educate myself to go to the next level, which is getting my first investment property, which I own
Mm.
outright. And then maybe I'll stop that too.
Mm.
Because I
Interesting.
feel like a lot of people, especially in my community, we don't have that wealth in real estate. And if you look at the wealthy people, they all have some sort of a real estate. So why aren't we getting into real estate? And it's because we just simply don't know.
Mm.
Because I didn't know. So now I'm trying to find out. And when I find out, I'm gonna tell some people.
Okay, so you know what? I want to go rewind a little bit because there's something you mentioned there that you blocked off one of your units because you wanted to record there. What happens when you don't have a tenant and you still have to pay that rent?
Correct, 100%. So I
Okay.
will say that I have been blessed enough to not have to pay the rent out of my own personal money. I've broken even sometimes, but I've never had to pay the rent. So
Mm.
I feel like when people are considering getting into the Airbnb arbitrage space or just Airbnb, even if you're wanting to look into owning the property, you
Mhm.
definitely need to research your market. And that's me going in. I had no clue about the market. I was just looking for my first yes. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
I'm in Jacksonville. I'm going to do it in Jacksonville. Where can I do it at? I'm going here, there, and everywhere, trying to get a yes. When I got the yes, I just hopped on it. Thank
Mm.
God that this is an okay market, so it worked out for me. But it could have went way left,
Mm.
but it didn't.
And what type of locations are you looking for when you're looking for these Airbnb spaces?
So I'm looking for places that are near amenities or near places that people are wanting to travel. So hot spots, we're in Jacksonville, the beach. People are coming down from up north. They want to be by the water. Downtowns are always good, centralized areas. If there are any like amenities in the area that you stay, I don't know, like if it was Orlando, like theme parks, near the NBA stadium or the football stadium if it's football season, centralized places that they can like easily have access to. Some people fly in, they don't necessarily have a car, so they want to be near, and even small stuff like grocery stores, restaurants, stuff like that.
Mm.
Good proximity to things.
And how much were you grossing per month since over the last year through these properties?
In total, I
Yeah.
provided so up until when this was, I sent you a screenshot. I want to say
Mm.
October, I was at 122,000. But people have to think that I have overhead too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you plan for the times when you can't get a tenant into your one of your units?
So that's another thing that that I had to learn and start to take into consideration. People, a lot of the gurus, the Airbnb gurus will say that it's so passive, but really you do have to stay active in it. Now, I'm not active in it like heavy, like a couple of hours a week and I'm good. But another thing that I learned was dynamic pricing system. So like you just can't set a price. I'm just gonna say $100, and that's your price Monday through Sunday, because it's not gonna work. There are competition. People are changing their prices. Like I said, there's low seasonality, high seasonality, and then if you're not getting booked, maybe your price is too high. We're not gonna say the $100 is too high, but maybe your price is too high. Everybody else around you is dropping their prices, and your price is staying the same. So you definitely have to pay attention to what's going on in your market. Pay attention to the competition around you, and pay attention to, like, are people traveling right now? Because you have to adjust your price accordingly, and also adjust your listing accordingly. Because some people just make a listing, leave it stagnant, and just like everything else, social media, things have algorithms. So does Airbnb algorithms.
Are you charging less for those tenants that want to stay for a whole 3 months versus those that are just staying there for a few days or a week?
So I do give them monthly discounts. And the
Oh.
monthly discount just varies depending on the seasonality. So I'll see, like, I think the current discount I have is about 10% if they stay for the whole month. But yeah, I'll give them a discount to entice longer stays, because the longer stay that we have, the less we have to turn around, the less cleaning fees we have.
Have you had any issues with any of your tenants in the past?
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. The one that comes to my head immediately was, I had a guest. I can't remember I can't remember, was it Thanksgiving? It was a holiday. They had a get together at the unit. And it was the guest and it was the cleaner, because they had to get together at the unit. They left the unit trash. I had a same day check-in that day, and the cleaner came late. So, and then I had the door camera. So, and that was kind of me. That was kind of me being like my nonchalant, just trying to see it through. I didn't hear too much noise, but I saw a lot of people in and out. But I let it go. So I guess it was three people's fault: me, the cleaner, and the guest. But when I got there, I didn't see the cleaner arrive. So I was like, you know what? Let me go here and see what's going on. See if the cleaner is there. Maybe I just didn't see him on the camera. I don't know. I got there. The door was open. The unit was trash. It was like 7 bags of trash outside of the door. I was like, you got to be shitting me right now. But we made it happen. The cleaner arrived shortly after me. I chewed her behind out, and we all got it cleaned up. We all got it cleaned up and ready.
So how did you find your cleaner?
So there's different apps and different sites that you can use, but I use this site called turno.com. So you can actually find your cleaners, manage the inventory, problems, everything automatically. So I don't have to do anything with that. As long as I have my cleaner, when somebody checks in, the cleaner picks it up and it's synced.
Have you had the same cleaner since you started the business?
Heck no. I had to learn to hire slow and fire fast. We're not used to hiring people as nurses. I mean, some nurses might have businesses outside of being a nurse, but we don't know anything about that. So that's something else that I had to learn as it was happening. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to fire her. Next time I need to ask this question, or next time I need to ask this question, because even though somebody knows how to clean, they don't know how to clean for a short-term rental. It's two different things. And then they'll tell you they know how to clean. If they want a job, if I wanted a job, I would tell somebody I know how to clean too. Yeah. So I definitely went through about 3 cleaners, and they caused me headache. Headache.
What about the neighbors of these units that you're renting? Do they ever report any complaints or anything like that?
Knocking on wood, no. Wow. I've never had issues with the neighbors.
Do you have like a standard style for each unit now that you furnish, or you just any random thing that looks good, that's what you'll put on there?
So I'll think about it once I'm considering like to scale up. If I was scaling up on like some people, they'll get a bundle of units, like 5 or 10 at a time. If I was doing it like that, maybe I would stick with a certain theme. But with me, I think the most I've gotten is at one time is 2, like a week apart. And one of them I wanted to do a boho theme. One of them I wanted to do like a green and gold theme. Yeah. So I think that's me just being too much in the business. I be wanting to do like different little cute themes. Yeah. Then I wanted to do a Jacksonville Jaguar theme. So I just think about it, and I think about what would stand out against the competition, instead of just being like everybody wants that that white, that clean, that natural look. But when you're scrolling, what's going to catch somebody's attention when they're scrolling looking for someone where to stay? So
Yeah.
that's what I try to think about.
That makes absolute sense. But the reason I asked is because I remember watching this couple that rented out many, like several properties. I think they had over like, don't quote me on this, but like over 100 properties that they were renting out. And I remember the husband saying that they made sure that every single property was identical to one another, so that in case one of the tenants breaks something in the property, they can just go to another one and bring in like the mattress or something like that from the other property because it looks exactly the same, or one of the chairs. Everything was the same. But then your just apartment just looks bland, right? It doesn't look like every other, it looks like every other apartment. It doesn't differentiate itself from the others. So you can charge a premium when you differentiate yourself from the others. So that's something interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And on his end, it makes sense in order to like get things up and running, because like, and then even with your cleaners, they know this is how it is
Yeah.
across the board, which is good. But like you said, like it doesn't differentiate you from anybody. And these days, it's a lot of people trying to get into Airbnb.
Yeah.
It was already a lot in the past. People just didn't know about it. But now it's like, it's really, really heavy. So it's like, what sets you apart from someone else? Like, what are you providing that someone else isn't? Like, is your stuff comfortable? Like, what are your reviews? Like, something has to make you stand out to make somebody stop that scroll.
So all of the viewers that are watching this are going to probably wonder how they can get into it. How can they find you online, and how can they reach out to you?
So I am Nakita, the Airbnb RN, and that is my name on IG. On Facebook, it's Nakita Dupree. And I have in my bio, I have a little link tree. So I have, you can DM me if you want to. I DM back. A lot of people think that people don't DM back, but I will DM back. I'm not that type of person. I'm very open. So if you just have a question that you need to know, like, is this right for you? I have an ebook, a course, and a mentorship now. So you just let me know and we can narrow down what might be best for you.
If you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to our channel and watch this episode here about the respiratory therapist who's making over $20,000 per month renting out his properties through Airbnb.